Good morning, class. Hope you all are good, safe, and healthy. Now that you are back after a short summer break, I hope you all are fresh, rejuvenated, because the situation has not improved and we still have to do this virtual schooling. Today, I will be starting with the second unit, Genetics and Evolution, and the first chapter, Principles of Inheritance and Variation. Now, to begin with, what is genetics? You all have studied the basic concepts earlier also. I think in class 10 you have studied genetics. So, to begin with, what is genetics? Genetics is simply that branch of biology that deals with the study of heredity and variation. Actually, it means that it is the study that deals with the mechanism of transmission of characters from parents to the offsprings. Basically, that is the inheritance of characters as well as the variations of characters from parent to the next generation, or parent to the progeny, or parent to the offspring. These are the terms that we use. So, genetics is the mechanism or the principles that lead to transmission of characters, both similarities and differences from parent to offspring. Now, to give you an example, you all know that humans all over the world are the same species, Homo sapiens. Yet there are so many differences within humans, within people of different countries. Why coming to a smaller scale, even within the same family? The children are never identical to the parents. The progeny is not identical to the parents. There are similarities. Whenever a child is born in the family, all the relatives get together and they start comparing. This child looks like the father or the mother or the grandmother or the grandfather, or like uncles or aunts. So basically these are the similarities within a family. Yet the child is never identical to the parents or to grandparents. So this difference is called variation. Now, genetics, you know, was studied by Gregor John Mendel. He was an Austrian monk and he did his experiments on the garden pea. Pisum sativum is the botanical name of the plant on which his experiments were based. And basically he took into account 7 characters of about 34 varieties of pea plants and kept on doing experiments for a period of 7 years till he finally came to a conclusion and he gave certain laws relating to genetics, relating to heredity and variations. And because of which he is called the father of genetics. Gregor John Mendel is the father of genetics. Now, his work was published in 1865, but it did not get any recognition till the year 1900, when 3 more scientists, one was Hugo de Vries of Netherlands, Correns of Germany, and Teschemark from Austria. These 3 scientists also came to the same conclusions in 1900 and that is when the work of Mendel was given recognition. Now, before I move further, just let us sum up what I have told you just now. Coming back to genetics. Genetics is that branch of biology that deals with the study of heredity and variation. Or in other words, we can say it is the transmission, it is the mechanism of transmission of characters from parents to offspring. That is inheritance of characters as well as of variations from parent to offspring. And Gregor John Mendel is known as father of genetics because he conducted several experiments to give laws. He has given 3 laws, and his work or his experiments were conducted on garden pea, on plant garden pea, and the botanical name of this is Pisum sativum. Pisum is the genus, sativum is the species. You know the rules. Genus, the first letter has to be written in capital letters. Species, everything has to be in small letters because it is handwritten. I have underlined the 2 words separately. Had it been in printed form, it would have been written in italics. So these are the basic things about genetics. Now, why did? Okay, one more thing that I have told you. Let me write that also. This Gregor John Mendel's work was not given recognition. He had given his laws in the year 1865. Laws were given in 1865, but he was not given any recognition till 1900, when 3 more scientists, that is Hugo de Vries, Correns of Germany, he is from Netherlands, Holland. He is from Germany, and Deschemark is from Austria. Gregor John Mendel, he was an Austrian monk. He lived in the monastery. He wanted to become a teacher, but he could not pass the exam, the teacher training exam. But later on, because of his work, he became a teacher of all teachers. Today we teach, as teachers, we teach the laws that were given by him in the year 1865. So these are the important things. Now I will tell you why Mendel chose garden pea for his experiments. So that is also important. And what I had told you, that he selected 7 characters in the pea plants on which his experiments were based. So first let me tell you what were those. The 7 pairs of characters taken into consideration by Mendel were the character, first seed shape, round and wrinkled, second seed color, that was yellow or green, third pod shape, which was full or constricted, then fourth character was pod color, green or yellow, then flower color, violet or white, flower position, either born in the axillary or terminal, and seventh character was plant height, or we can say stem height, which was tall or dwarf. So these were the 7 pairs of characters selected by Mendel for his experiments. Then I told you Mendel's experiments were based on pea plants, and they were successful because of the following characters which we are going to discuss now, which he selected in peas. First character was that pea plants now Mendel chose pea plants for his experiment, which were a success because of the following reasons. First was that there were several varieties of pea plants available with different characteristics, like just now we discussed green pea pods or yellow pea pods, round seeds or wrinkled, axillary or terminal flowers. So first was that there were different varieties of pea plants available with distinct characters or traits. Second reason was that pea is a bisexual flower, and the flower's structure of flower is such that both carpel and stamens are enclosed in the petals. They are enclosed in petals, because of which they normally undergo self-pollination. Another reason, these flowers could be grown in fields easily or even in pots. Another reason, the flowers could be easily cross-pollinated, or even hand pollination was done for experiments. And how is this hand pollination done? As I told you, flowers are bisexual. The carpels and the stamens are present together. So for hand pollination, the stamens were removed from the flower. Stamens are the main part of the flower. They were removed even before the pistil was mature to receive the pollen grains produced by the anther. So this is called emasculation. And once the stamens were removed and pistil had not matured, then just at the time of maturity of the pistil, anther was brought from another desired variety of plant and sprinkled on the stigma of this pistil. So you see, they could be hand pollinated or cross pollinated. The steps that were done was, first was emasculation. Emasculation means removal of anther before maturity of pistil. Because if the pistil matures and anther has not been removed before its maturity, then pollen grains can fall on the stigma. So before maturity of the pistil, the anthers were removed. The flower was covered in bag, so that nothing from outside can fall. And at the time of maturity, second step was, on maturity of pistil, pollen grains from desired variety were sprinkled on the stigma. That's how two distinct features could be brought together in cross-pollination. Then these pea plants had a limited period of growth, short period of growth. So results could be easily seen. And another important point was that these hybrids that were produced by this step, by cross-pollination, the hybrids produced were mutually crossed and they resulted in perfectly fertile progeny. They were mutually crossed and they resulted in fertile progeny. After cross-pollination, what we got was the hybrid, and that hybrid was again crossed, mutually crossed. Two hybrid plants, that is, plants obtained in the first generation were crossed in the second generation, and then also the offspring or the progeny was fertile, capable of further production of plants. So these were the reasons why Mendel's experiments on pea plants were successful. Now we come to the laws given by Mendel. Mendel gave 3 laws on genetics. The first law, Mendel's laws on inheritance. He gave 3 laws. The first law is called law of dominance. The second law given by Mendel is called law of segregation, and this is also called law of purity of gametes. The third law given by Mendel was law of independent assortment. These were the 3 laws given by Mendel. Now the first 2 laws were based on inheritance of one gene. And the third law was based on inheritance of 2 genes. will explain these laws. You have studied these in class 10, but we will do these laws again. Now, before I move on to the explanation of these laws and we do the monohybrid and the dihybrid cross, we are going to revise a few terms, a few definitions like allele, like dominant character, recessive character, homozygous condition, heterozygous condition. So one by one we will be dealing with these definitions so that later when we do the crosses, things are very clear to each one of you. So we come to the definitions. Now first thing, Mendel selected characters or traits which existed in two alternative forms. Now these alternative forms of a character or a trait are called alleles, which is a short form of allelomorph. So allele is a particular form of a gene, which is a short form of allelomorph. There are two alternative forms of each character or trait or a gene. Like we discussed, height of plant, the plant can be tall or dwarf. So two alternative forms of the same character. The character here is height, and two different forms are a tall plant and a dwarf plant or a short plant. Then we can consider the position of the flower. The position of the flower is the character or the trait, and two alternative forms of that is axillary flower or terminal flower. Then a homozygous condition. That is a condition when a diploid organism has same allelic forms of a gene. Like two allelic forms of height of a plant. Now there are symbols given for this. And for a dominant character we use the capital letter. And for a recessive characteristic we use the small letter of the same alphabet. Small letter of the same alphabet, like capital T for tall. For dwarf we are not going to use D, we are going to use a small t for it. So homozygous condition is in a diploid, means one set coming from one parent, one set of chromosomes coming from the other parent, and in both cases they are same, either two capital T's for tall plant or two small t's for short plant. So in this case this is homozygous. So it says homozygous is that condition when a diploid organism has the same allelic form of a gene. Two capital T's or two small t's is homozygous. Then heterozygous. Hetero means different. Hetero when the genes are different. So a condition when a diploid organism have different allelic forms of the gene. One capital T and one small t is heterozygous condition. Then as I told you, something that is expressed is dominant. So that form, that allele which expresses itself, that form of a character or that allele which expresses itself is dominant. So dominant is defined as an allele that expresses itself in the same form, whether present in the homozygous or in the heterozygous condition. Which means if it is two capital T, it is homozygous condition and the tall character is going to be expressed. If it is present in a heterozygous condition, one capital T and small t, then also it is going to be expressed. Capital T means tall character is going to be expressed. So here capital T represents the dominant allele for tallness. Then we come to recessive. Recessive is that allele which does not express itself when present along with the dominant allele. Now if two small t's are present, there is no form for tallness. Obviously two small t's means the plant is going to be short. But if in heterozygous condition one capital T, one small t is the expression of the allelic form, the allelic forms are different, then the dominant character for tallness will be expressed. So therefore it is said that when present along with the dominant allele in heterozygous form, it expresses itself only when it is in the homozygous form. That is, it will express the dwarf plant when two small t's are present, but if one capital T and small t is present, it will express the tall plant. Then the visible characteristic, what we say as the physical expression of these genes, is the phenotype. So phenotype is the physical or the observable expression of an organism. Like two capital T's expresses the tall character, one capital T and one small t also expresses the tall character. So this is the phenotype of the plant, that is, the plant is tall. Then we come to genotype. Genotype is the genetic expression of an organism which is not visible externally, which cannot be seen. Like we are talking of two capital T's, that is homozygous condition for tallness, one capital T, one small t, which is not expressed outside, is not visible. It is there in the genetic constitution of the organism, so we call it a genotype. Then pure breeding varieties or true breeding varieties, where in diploid conditions both are same. The allelic forms of a particular gene are same. That is either two capital T's for tallness or two small t's for dwarfness, which means they are pure breeding forms. Clear? Then we come to the next thing, Punnett square. Punnett square is a checkerboard, a graphical representation to calculate the probability of all possible genotypes of offsprings in a genetic cross. When I will teach the crosses, I will tell you at that time how we express the different forms by means of a checkerboard, which is a graphical representation. Then coming to monohybrid cross. Mono means one. So when two forms of one character are taken into consideration, only one character, two organisms are crossed, and we are taking into consideration the two forms of one character, then that is called a monohybrid cross, and we define it as a cross between two forms of a single trait, like a cross between tall plants and dwarf plants. Then the first generation is called first filial generation or F1 generation, which is produced by crossing two true breeding parental forms. And F2 generation is the second filial generation, which is produced by selfing two individuals of the F1 generation. Now I'll explain this. F1 generation is when a pure tall plant is crossed with a pure dwarf plant. Then the progeny will be called F1 generation. And when two plants of the F1 generation are crossed, then the progeny produced will be called the F2 generation, that is filial second generation. Then this was monohybrid cross, F1, F2. Then we come to dihybrid cross. Di means two. Here we are taking into consideration two forms of two genes. That is, suppose we take a tall plant with axillary flowers. So tall is one character, height of the plant, and axillary flowers is the second character. And the contrasting forms of tall plant is a short plant, and for plant bearing axillary flowers, the contrasting character is terminal flowers. So we are taking two characters or two forms of two characters, two allelic forms of two characters, tall and axillary. These are the two forms. So dihybrid cross is a cross between two forms of two genes, like a cross between tall plants with axillary flowers and dwarf plants with terminal flowers. So these are the important definitions, important concepts which are essential to understand the different laws proposed by Mendel. So we move on to the laws now, and before I explain the laws,